Beef produce 1 cubic foot per day, weighing 63 pounds. Ducks, 3/4 of a cubic foot, weighing 46 pounds. Now look at the amount of, look at the body mass of a cow versus the body mass of a duck. You know, ducks are very good. Ducks are good, you know, to eat your slugs and things like that too. So ducks may be a very good way to get the animal manure, plus you get something to eat, plus you have duck eggs too. So ducks are really good. Nutrient value of manures. Chicken manure is very high in nitrogen, 27.3 pounds per ton, versus beef, 11.3 pounds per ton. And on this chart here, the chickens are the highest. The chickens are the highest in nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. And as you all know, chicken manure is high-powered stuff. The way that you can deal with it, though, is just compost it. And if it's sitting for a year or even 2 years, you know, it's going to be sick. And that's another thing. Let me put in a plug for the cold composting method, which is what I do. And
hey, Walt, I understand that the chicken manure is very hot, isn't it?
yes, it is.
It shouldn't be used right away. It should be used.
No, yeah, that's why you compost it for a year or two.
Compost, yeah, okay.
Right. So this right here is compost. I just took that out this morning, and that's been sitting for a year. And this is my soil that I just pulled out this morning. And you notice that the compost is fluffy, and that's what compost does. It breaks down. It holds more water. For example, if you have more organic matter in your fields, it'll hold more water, and you won't get so much standing water. You can look at my place, and there's very little standing water in the field. Then you go half mile south on to Bedlington, and you know they grow certified seed potatoes, and they're all chemical agriculture, and they're just standing water in the field all the time. It's the difference of the organic matter. So, for instance, chemical agriculture, you'll get right around 1% maybe of organic matter in your soil. And most organic farmers have 3 or 4%, and they're ecstatic if they get 7 to 8%. Well, what I did a couple of years ago, a friend of mine decided he wanted to try a wheat experiment, and so he had a soil test done, and my soil test came up as 13% organic matter. Well, the problem is that's obviously false. So that's one of the reasons why I'm not very keen on soil tests. Because you get this soil test, and I have it right here, I'll pass it around. And it's right here in this organic matter, right here towards the top. It says 13.5% organic matter. It's obviously wrong. $35 wasted. Okay, so.
Why is it obviously wrong?
Because it's impossible. Like I said, the organic farmers, like Brent Harrison, Mike Newroth, Mike Finger, all these guys, if they get 7 or 8%, they're ecstatic, and usually they're right around 5 or 6%. The fact that I have 13.5%, I mean, it's just it can't be. It's impossible. In fact, I think I've got one of Woody Derrick's soil tests here too, and he's got like 6.5%, and he thought that was great.
So it's a fault of the testing method?
Yes. So, with all of these recommendations for how much nitrogen and phosphorus and potash that I need for my soil, all of a sudden it's raised a question. Well, how am I supposed to trust this? I can't trust it. Okay? Another thing is, I know what's going on, and I'm looking at it, and I eat the food, where I walk every day. And I have people who my CSA customers, their kids who have immune deficiency disorders. They eat my stuff and they get better. Okay, so I look at that and I say, oh, okay. Am I going to trust the people? Am I going to trust my own logic? Am I going to trust the soil? Or am I going to trust somebody at A&L Western Agricultural Laboratories? It's no brainer, especially since it's obviously wrong. So anyway, I'll pass it around. Okay, so of course, when I say that I'm not keen on soil tests, all the extension agents they just have fit. Well, and you expect it because that's their job. Their job is to market soil tests. Their job is to help you, but their paradigm is still feed the plant. So what I do in the feed the soil paradigm is that I'm saying, okay, let's put the slow-acting natural compounds. Let's put the organic compounds in the soil so that the plants have it when they need it. If there's extra, it's good for next year. Now, with nitrogen, a lot of it will get burned up and chewed off, but you can still use things like cover crops and then plant another cereal grain. So for instance, you have soybeans. Soybeans are putting a lot of nitrogen in your soil, and that fall you put down cereal rye, and the rye uses that, grows over the winter. You till that in March, and that the rye has used some of that nitrogen instead of the microbe burning it off, and so you have it in biomass. So actually using one crop after the other to use up some of your excess nitrogen production works real good. Okay. Or you can feed those soybeans, crush them up and feed them to your hogs, and the hogs crap in the barn, and then you leave it there for a year, and then you put it out. Okay. So you can preserve your nitrogen levels through various means. Okay.
So the point where you said you didn't feel like you needed to use animal manures, can you
Right.
explain why?
Okay. The idea of animal husbandry is there's no money in it, especially if you're buying the grain to feed your broilers or feed your layers or to feed your cattle, etc. You've got to be able to grow your own grain. You've got to be able to grow your own grain to feed your horses if you're using horse agriculture. Now that means that you have to have many more acres. Now clearly, with the peak oil situation, the answer is not the tried and true methods of the past, especially the chemical methods of the past. The way that we're going to get through this peak oil problem that's almost upon us is a whole bunch of people on very small plots. So in other words, you don't have the luxury of even thinking about animal agriculture, with the exception of chickens, with the exception of rabbits, with the exception of things like guinea pigs maybe. The ancient Incas, that was their staple meat was guinea pig.
Huh.
So there are things that you can do. So I approach it from, instead of wanting to have a farm with animals because it's, I have this Norman Rockwell image in my head and it's really great and I love animals, stuff like that. What I do is say, this is what I need to do. And so I'm going to do everything with plants, but can I extend myself a little bit in the other direction? So in other words, is it to my advantage to have chickens? Well, maybe, but we don't, Tony and I don't eat much eggs, and we don't even eat much chicken. So why not just support the farmer down the road who has the eggs and who has the chicken, or support the farmer down the road who has the beef or the pork, and we give them some cash, and they get to sell their product at their price. So for me, I'm seeing I'm not just doing it myself, I'm part of a community. It's to my advantage to support the other farmers who really want to have animals. And there are plenty of them out there. They really want to have chickens. They want to have sheep. They want to have hogs. They really want to. Okay, well, let's support them. So I don't need that. Now, they're not going to sell me or give me their manure. And it's, so I don't get that. So what I have to do if I want manure, I got to go to some of these riding stables and get some of that manure. And that manure has sawdust in it. And so the sawdust is problematic because it chews up the nitrogen while it's decomposing, so it locks up your nitrogen. You get it back, of course, years later, but it chews it up. Plus, you have the problem of whether those horses being fed. What kind of antibiotics have you don't know. So, the default position for me is just use all plants. Now, I do make one exception with the phosphorus source. It's steam bone meal, but that's a very good organic phosphorus source, because it's readily available versus rock phosphates, which you have to be in the ground for a couple of years and get broken down by the weak soil acids. So.